Greetings, fellow listeners. My name is Aaron Amanjala, and I'm joined today by our esteemed guest, Kendall Hanfield.
Kendall
Kendall,
Henfield.
right? If you could introduce
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Like I said before, my name is Kendall Henfield, and I'm happy to be here.
So, how are you, man? We've known each other for a few years. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been quite a while. I'd say almost a decade, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's been some time. It's good seeing you again, and I'm happy to come on this podcast and give my experience and even maybe some tips and tricks for my listen and our listeners.
Right. So, on that note, we've been taking a composition course for a few weeks now, and we've learned a lot, to say the least, right? So, just what are
Yeah.
some common mistakes that you make in your writing process and writing essays, whatever it could be, like narratives, compare and contrast essays, things of that nature?
Well, so far, I mean, it's truly been a learning experience, I must say, to have all these new different styles of essays introduced in my life.
Right.
And I can really see the importance, I must say. But some common mistakes that some of my professors have been giving me good feedback on is I'd say proper punctuation. And another thing, citing my work and really having them in order. Also indents, but I can see how, although these mistakes can cause a big issue in the grading process, I see how my professors are doing a wonderful job in giving me good corrections, and I can see how it's helping me. A key thing I can see that's helping me is in the compare and contrast essay that we had. I had a few mistakes with the punctuation and where I placed some of my
Right.
commas and periods. And just, when I submitted, in my mind, I thought it was okay and all good. But I see how, as Mrs. McCarthy, which is our professor for composition, she gave me wonderful feedback. And she was basically, I would say, giving me good feedback on where my punctuations needed to be and how I needed to indent in some of my spacings. So yeah, that's one important thing which I do see that I make in quite a few of my essays, but I can see how with her comments it has been improving because when we had, I think it was the how to essay,
Right.
I she mentioned how she saw the improvement in my punctuation styles and even in my editing. So I'm happy that I'm not only receiving this positive feedback, but I'm also trying to put it into my work. So I'm pretty happy about that. Now, with some strategies that I can suggest myself and other fellow writers out there,
Hmm.
I would say proofread. Proofread is a very important thing everybody must do. You can be the best writer, you can be top tier on everything, on your punctuations, but it's still good to go back and read that essay again. No
Right.
matter the piece, how to compare and contrast. It's really important to just go back to a quick proofread, maybe once or twice, just to feel more comfortable. Also, another thing I want to suggest is formatting. Make sure you have your style, your essay styles formatted. And another thing, read clear directions on what format you must use. Because many times you may have this one mindset that maybe on my essays I'm gonna write it on MLA, but I see how some of my other peers they had this similar mindset, and when they submitted their work, our professor was like, MLA, or but she really suggested APA, but you know she kind of adjusts with us, so I'm really grateful for that, and she allowed us to use MLA. So I must say that's one thing I like about our professor.
So for sure, just following instructions first and foremost, making sure that you're following directions and the structure of the essay, as you said, whether it's compare and contrast or whether it's a how-to essay, you should still follow that same structure.
Yes,
So
correct.
I heard you mention something about the works cited. I find that I also sometimes get carried away and I find all of these sources, but I don't cite them or I don't prepare the works cited page beforehand, which is adding more stress in the long run. So what I recommend all of our listeners and to for future use as well is whenever you're doing your research, have a separate document that lists all of your sources so that when it comes time to submit, it's easier for you to have your works cited page ready and just take out what you decided not to use in your final submission. So um, yeah, cool. Well, I guess
Well,
some writing some writing common mistakes that I make is that grammatically I think for the most part, if I proofread, I cover most bases. However, it's not unless it could be grammatically correct, but there are some sentences that are redundant that you don't need them, and they're just sort of filling up the word count for the sake of doing it. And I feel like this new quota that's been pushed on us, and
yeah.
it's necessary that it's pushed on us. It's benefited us a lot because um, we learn to write things with substance and with each sentence carrying its own meaning and stuff. Like you remember those assignments where it's timed and there you would only have like 300 to 400 words, right?
Yeah, that was quite difficult in my opinion, but I must say I kind of enjoy them a little bit.
You enjoyed it? Yeah, for me it
Yeah,
wasn't so enjoyable because I'd have like 500 words and I have to cut down and it
yeah,
was hard.
same.
But
Yeah,
yeah, just learning to be concise and to write well. I remember Miss McCarthy said something about it's easy. It was like a story of a guy that sent a really long message and he says, "Sorry, I'd write you a shorter message if I had more time." But yeah, that just
yeah.
goes to show how good writing is concise and um, delivers the message accordingly. So, oh, Kendall, it looks like we're getting a special guest here. Oh my gosh. Hey,
Oh
DeAndre,
my.
thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, you were at Eucharist, right? Yeah,
Yes. I
sorry.
just
So
finished.
glad you could join us, man. So we were on the topic of writing essays and sort of what we do and in making sure that we don't um make the same mistakes that we have made in the past, right? So what are some strategies that you implement in your writing?
Some strategies that I implement in my writing would be to look over my work when I'm finished,
Right,
because many times I see that when I'm writing, I tend to leave out the mistakes that I've written down and I just submit just like that.
right,
So recently and even more in the past, I've decided to look at my writing more before submitting to see the mistakes I've made. And I see it has made an improvement on my writing, and improved many grades that I've had on my writing. So yeah, that's one way.
So Kendall and I were sort of talking about this, but like in high school, we were really just writing sometimes for the sake of writing, right? We just to submit, right? And it didn't really matter. But now we've come to a point where we need to be more concise and take out redundant phrases out of our writing that doesn't really add substance to what we're saying. So do you think that sort of thing relates to you?
Oh yes, it's something I really do in my writing. To complete word count or to fill up pages. Um, and redundancy is something I've been trying to work on with myself. Um, because I see how many times I write the same sentence over and over and over again with just different words and
Right,
adjectives.
just
So
the same idea. Um, so just for the call here, right? How um, well do you think outlines have impacted your writing process?
in the past, I've never really tried to do an outline. I just straight ahead,
Yeah,
just
me
start
too.
writing and submit. But now, since we're in this English course and you have to do an outline, I see how it's helped and shaped my writing to where I'm actually thinking about what I'm gonna write about instead of just taking the go ahead.
Exactly.
And my writing has improved because of the outline. So
Yeah. Kendall, do you feel the same way, sort of, in the same conditions?
Yes, I totally agree with this outline. Before we weren't obligated to write an outline, and so I don't really think we even really saw the benefit of writing an outline. But taking this course, I see how we have to write this outline to get full marks on our papers. But not only that, but I see how it also helps us with our essays because we already know what we want to say when we already write the outline. So it's just basically jotting down a little bit more points, but you already had that same concept of, yeah, I know what I'm going to write in my essay, and you feel confident. You're not wasting any time, thinking about, oh, what do I need to write for my second body? You already had that in your outline. So I totally agree with what DeAndre said, and I do see the importance of this outline. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. Because when you're writing your essay and you just go straight ahead, if you feel that, oh, I should have written it this way, or I should have placed this idea first so that it flows better, it's harder to have that thought while you're writing your essay because okay, now I have to change everything and shift everything this way to try to make that idea work instead of writing your outline and finding those little nuances in your writing and things that you can change and changing it before you fully flesh out your essay so that saves time like a lot in the writing process. So I really find the benefit of this outline. So thank you guys for coming on this podcast. It was really nice having you all. See you next time.
All right.